doing a little bit of an experiment here. I've brought this project back up. Now I don't have this quilt on the machine, but I have a pattern in here, and I have drawn a boundary that is very similar to the boundaries that I drew to do these wings. Here's one of the things. This line is inside, and I made sure that this was not touching here, and this is inside okay. But when we get down in this area right there, see, that is outside the boundary. So if I'm going to use fill inside, then I'm going to have to do something to bring that line inside the boundary, or that line is going to be chopped off down in this area. So here's what I can do. I can go ahead and divide the pattern, and I can just click on it and go down to say divide pattern, and right here, this node, I can click on that. Now you can see all of this is still attached together, and this one is all by itself. So if I select that, I can move this end down here back inside the boundary. I have to be careful about trying to adjust any of these two especially inner lines, because this stitches from there up to here, down like this, all the way down and back, and then down and back, and then down to the end. So what I'm going to do is try to select this line, and you notice I have my side anchors, and I'm going to use this cycle the anchor, pattern anchors. I want to cycle it until I have the end anchors, and I have end snap turned off, so it's not going to move anywhere. And I'm going to move this until it's inside the boundary line like this. I think that'll work. I could combine these back into one pattern instead of, actually it's two patterns now. This is a pattern by itself, and this is a pattern. I could combine them back into one pattern by selecting, holding down the control key and selecting this other part, and then combine the group. That should be one thing. And before I do anything, what I'm going to do is, see, it wants to start way over here because I've been playing with this. So I got to select that, and sometimes this can be a little difficult to do, so I'm going to use greater than, less than. See if I can't get this pattern selected. Okay, I have it selected. I want to right click, toggle it as sewn. Now I can see my start and end point. So this is the start point, this is the end point, but this is sticking out. I can select the entire pattern like that, and I can go down to this little icon, convert pattern. No, I don't want to convert pattern. Forget it. I want to go down to here, and I want to do a trim inside. So I'm just going to right click and do a fill, or rather a fill inside, not a trim inside, a fill inside. And yeah, that would work. So this is all still inside the boundary line, and none of it was chopped off. So now I'm going to do a virtual stitch out. Go and click this, and it's going to do a virtual stitch out for me. Let me increase the speed of that so you can see real quick how it's going to go. You can see it, that line stitches down and then back, and then the next line will stitch down and back. And it will then stop. If I was actually stitching this, it would do a tie off at the start, a tie off at the end. So I think that's why I didn't use fill inside in some of the cases because I don't know, maybe I just got a little bit tired and stopped being so particular about dividing and moving these lines inside the boundary. And it was also suggested that I could do some adjustments of the pattern by using nudge, and yes, I could do that. So I hold down the Alt key and I can use the 4 arrows, left, right, up, down, and I can do a little bit of adjustments to this pattern and get it to fit very well inside this boundary. Now if I've got this adjusted, see it's very close to that line, that boundary, very close to this boundary, and that would stitch out good. So that's something else that I might have considered. But when you've been quilting on one like this and you get very tired, sometimes you get a little lax and you don't do all of the things that you should do. This next week, if I have a quilt that I work on that gives me the opportunity, I will do another video or two. I'm going to try for a while to do 1 or 2 a week and just go through some of the different features that we have with 5.0. Now I'm really using this cycle pattern anchor type, and I'm also using set sew order. You can use the measure icon, and I haven't played with this. Make the next left click a right click, and then there's a little arrow and you can click on it and it gives you another little set of icons. Here you can draw a boundary on the CAD, draw a trim on the CAD, draw an arc on the CAD. Now this is all with the mouse, because see, if I do this, this is what I want to do with the machine head. I want to be able to click on an icon that says draw an arc on the CAD, and it will let me take the machine head. Right now it won't let me do that. Be able to draw an arc around instead of trying to click a whole bunch of points P to P and then draw that. Well, I can get my there's the trim. Okay, this is draw a line, draw a curve, draw a freehand. I'm not very good at that, so forget that one. Draw a P to P pattern on the screen and help with Creative Studio. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to draw a line. If I go to the point-to-point icon and I select pattern, well, I would have to have a pattern over here that would work, and I don't have one, so I kept this in P2P line. How Creative Studio 5.0 reacts to a line pattern, so I'm going to test that. I'm going to turn on my grid snap. Snap to a grid, snap to a grid, click stop. Now this is in fact a pattern, and I'm going to export that pattern to CSQ, and I'm just going to call it line, and it's storing it in a folder that I have here, and it put that on the screen, and I'm going to delete that one. Then I'm going to go over here and say, okay, I want this, and we'll change this to pattern. It was suggested that I use a pattern, just a line pattern, and I set the P2P icon, I set it so that it would do a pattern. Now, if I had some kind of figure that had a curved shape, now see, I want to be able to do this with the machine head and draw the arc, not have to put in P2P points and then use Alt A and draw the arc with the mouse. It's not what I want. I have this set, and I'm going to go over and select this icon, and then I'm going to click a point. I'm going to move my machine like I'm moving it around a curve. I'm going to move it again like I'm going around a curve and put that on the screen. I'll hit stop. Now I can go back and use Alt A, and I have my end snap on, and it will snap to there if the end snap turned on. It'll snap to here if I do Alt A. Then it'll snap to there, and then it will snap to there, and I'll right click to exit that. And now notice I have my arc. And all I did was click 1, 2, 3 points and then went and drew that. Wouldn't it be great if I could just click on an icon and I could let the machine draw the arc by clicking this point, and this point, much the same as what we do when we're in AutoSketch and we're using 3-point arc. So we could do this if we had that option. Hopefully someday we're going to have that option available. Then all I would do would go in and delete these and just leave my arc, and then that would stitch. Toggle that as shown for now. So this is just some ideas I'm kicking around to experiment with as I go through and do some more work. And I'm learning more about the icons over here, and I use this this virtual stitch out. I use that quite often. And here you can flip the pattern horizontally, vertically. You can delete, toggle sewn state, toggle unsewn, combine pattern group, rubber stamp. I use that quite often. Here's my circular array, divide, reverse start and end, export. Here's your fill inside, fill outside, and convert pattern. And if we click, I use this quite often. If I click on that, I have all these options that I can do a convert. So that's just ideas that I'm working on. It was also suggested that on these areas where the pattern is fit into these wing sections, that I could use circular array and just make one of these boundaries, convert it to a pattern, and then use that. And since these are 10-degree wedges, I could use circular array and put however many of those I needed on there. But the difficulty is finding out this point out here where you're going to have to click to make this circle go around the correct way. You need to know where the center of this is, I'm thinking. So I tried that, and well, you can see it didn't work exactly the way I needed it to, but I suppose I could have just adjusted these and moved them into place, because these are going to be touching like that. And there's so many options that it would take a great length of time to discover them all. This is just some ideas. Maybe it'll help a little bit.